What's going on, guys? Coming back to another video here, and this one's actually particularly exciting to me because this is going to be the first full traffic control showcase since I actually did the very first one a long time ago already. And the reason is because traffic control has been kind of in this weird beta state ever since its first release, and we've not really had a whole lot of issues with traffic control all the way up to this point. And with this latest update adding a few new features to it, as you'll see later in this video, I just decided that now is kind of the time to finally push it into that final release status. Obviously hoping that there won't be any more issues, but I don't think there will be. We've had a lot of great testing from both the community and the QA team. So if you're new to the channel, this is kind of how things got started here, was with traffic control. So it's kind of special to me that I get to be able to do this again, go through it entirely. And if you've been here for a long time, first of all, thank you for sticking around and watching all the stuff that goes on the channel, and you get to see this whole thing one more time. So with that, let's dig into this. So this is how it all started. You know, I started traffic control, as I have explained before, as a result of a need to have a railroad crossing, like the actual equipment for railroad crossings. At the time, there just was not anything out there, and I still don't really know of anything like this out there yet, except for maybe later versions, but even still, you're hard pressed to find things like this. So yeah, this is what started it all. You know, the flashing lights and the gates that come down at the right time, and everything's to scale, specifically with immersive railroading, because that's all to scale too. So one of the things you'll notice that's actually new to traffic control 1.0.0 here is the gate lights. This is brand new stuff, and they flash in sync with the lamps. So yeah, this is what kind of started the whole thing, all the way up to the good old redstone activation. Yeah, that caused a lot of problems when it came out, but we fixed that. So I'm gonna kind of start going through everything here and just start with the railroad stuff, and we'll kind of go more into, you know, the other traffic related things. But since the railroad stuff is where it started, that's where we're gonna start here. And of course, the crossing base was one of the first things to be introduced, and it's the same as the pole here, but of course it's just got the nice decorative base to that. And as you can see with these things, like looking at crossing bases and poles, we're going to go through everything that's in 1.0. So we got a crossing base, we got a pole, then we got the crossbuck that's attached to the pole. Everything lines up. And now we get into one of our more complex blocks here, which is the crossing gate. Also, as part of the 1.0 update, the mechanism got a slight redesign so that way we can make room for the brand new gate lights when they're fully up in their 90-degree position and they don't impact any part of the pole at all. So this has been slightly redesigned, still the same concept. You know, things have been beefed up or whatever. So of course we activate these and you get the new flashing lights, and there's a delay, and it comes down, and this is all configurable. So if you right click on the actual gate here, you get a presentation with all these text boxes where you can set all kinds of things related to the gate. So the first one is, of course, is like the gate length. You can set this to any length that you want in terms of blocks. So if we do 6, we can see it goes into the wall there, but this is 6 blocks in length. We can go, you know, as short as 0.5. You get this tiny little gate here. And that's one of the things you'll notice is if you go too short, you won't get those gate lights. So if we do like a gate length of 1, you're not going to get the gate lights. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit here, but we'll stick with 4 and kind of look at things up until that point. So the upper rotation, so if we turn this off, we see that it goes from 0 degrees, which is all the way down, up to 60 degrees. So if we wanted this to be straight up, we can just set that to 90 degrees, and that'll, of course, go up into the ceiling over there. But this is your 90-degree upper rotation angle. And then the lower rotation angle is you know, where the gate actually rests when it's all the way down. So 0 degrees is straight out. We got this activation delay. So this is how long it takes from the time that the gate is activated to when it starts coming down. So if we flip this, it should take about 4 seconds before that gate starts coming down. And in some applications, this might be a little too long, but I've done some math, and in the real world, it takes about 4 seconds before the gates come down. But if we bring these back up again, and I set this to something like, you know, 1 second, flipping that switch should allow it to come down after just 1 second. So bring it all the way up there, flip 1 second, and it comes down. One thing to point out is that the activation delay does not apply if it's already in motion. So if I flip that switch while it's still moving, it'll respond immediately. So next thing on here is we got this light start offset. So I'm actually gonna bring this down again. So the light set offset refers to where the first gate light starts. So right now it's currently set to 1. So that means 1 block from where the, I guess, where the first block is in the direction that it's facing, where is that going to start? So since it's set to 1, it starts to 1 block here. If we set it to 2, it goes out 2 blocks. And the reason this is because you want these lights generally to line up with the actual roadway itself. So this allows it to where you can have your gate, and maybe it's 2 or 3 blocks away from the roadway. You can set that to where the lights will line up on the roadway where you want them to be. Now the catch is, if you make this light offset too close to this gate length, in other words, the lights don't, if you make them too close to the end of the gate, they actually will no longer appear. So in this case, if we were to do a light start offset of 3, you can actually see that the gate lights disappear entirely. So you can do this if you are looking for a situation where you just want a nice clean gate look without any flashing gate lights on them. You can just set this light start offset to something that's a larger number than your gate length. So if you did an offset of 5, your gate length is 4, you will see that you will not see the gate lights, which is a good way to do that. I heard in other countries they just kind of have this clean gate. So I'm going to bring the lights back just one more time here, and I'm going to do this offset of 1. I should also point out that you can bring it right up to that first block here too. If your gate is uptight against your road, you can make that work as well. So we have this last option down here for 3 gate lights and 1 gate light. So this is to make gates MUTCD, Manual Uniform for Traffic Control Devices, compliant. So some people like to use these gates for sidewalks as well. Well, the MUTCD states that the gates must only have a single light on them, that being this end constantly lit light. So we can check the 1 gate light box and maybe set it to something more what you would see on a sidewalk, so like maybe 2, and you will have your MUTCD compliant crossing gate here. So we will put that back up, and that'll wrap up the crossing gates. So let's move on to the much more simple crossing lamps. It's very simple. You just turn it on and it starts flashing immediately. And again, when you have these paired up with a crossing gate, they will flash. So that's kind of your basic equipment that you're going to have for almost every railroad crossing, but some crossings are going to have things that go across the top of the roadway, kind of like what we had right out here, where this cantilever, I think is what it's called, but traffic control calls it overheads. And there's a few blocks that you can use for that. So this one here is called the overhead pole. So this is just this half block type of structure here that has the pole that lines up with the pole over there. It's a good launching platform for your overhead cantilevers. We have the blank overhead, which is a good filler block. So if you want your other pieces of equipment here to line up more over the roadway, you can use the overhead to fill some space to get over there. And it looks kind of like a walkway, which is kind of the idea. You have your overhead crossbuck, which is just a crossbuck that's on a pole that's attached to the actual walking platform itself. We have the overhead lamps, which functions the same as the crossing lamps there. You turn it on and they just flash back and forth, and they're attached to the walking platform. And that's it for your overhead options there. Your cantilever options should take care of all the use cases that I can think of anyway. And lastly, as you heard when we kicked on that crossing outside, there was bells that you can use on here. And traffic control offers 3 different types of bells. We have the SafeTran mechanical bell. We have the SafeTran Type 3 bell. And lastly, we have the WCH electronic bell. So you can use any combination of these 3 bells, or as many as you want, on your railroad crossing setups. And lastly, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but these blocks will help with your automation with your railroad crossings when you have immersive railroading installed. And that is your island shunt and your border shunt, also known as an approach shunt. In real life, I believe it's called the approach shunt. So these 2 blocks we will explain in just a little bit, but this is going to help with your automation of these crossings with immersive railroading, and immersive railroading only. Otherwise, you're going to have to use redstone for the other applications. And the thing that ties all of these devices together is the crossing gate relay. So your crossing bungalow, it's the controller box. It's a multi-block structure, but you only have to use the one item to place it down. And like I said, we'll see in a little bit here how this works with all of these other pieces. So speaking of that, let's go check out the railroad crossing demo. So out here I have an immersive railroad crossing. I have 2 tracks down here and 1 track on this other side, and I have those shunts set up here, and I have a railroad crossing gate relay, and in here I have a device called a tuner and just a regular redstone lever. So if I put this on here, we can see absolutely nothing happens because nothing is set up with the relay here. So I'm actually just gonna leave that on here for now, just so we can test everything. So like I said, I picked up this item here called a tuner. And if we hold shift, it says it's used to link components to a crossing gate relay or a traffic light control box. So when I hold it in my hand, I can right click on one of these relay boxes and I can pair everything that I want to work with this particular railroad crossing. So I will start on this side. I'll pair this gate, these lamps, this lamp here. I don't have a bell, so I guess I can just grab one of those real quick. Let's do this SafeTran Type 3 here. I'll pop a bell up here, pair the bell, and we'll just, whoops, that's a lever. Oh, there we go. Pair the bell, got our lamps, and our gate. So now that we have everything paired up, I can right click on the box again. That'll stop pairing, but I'm just gonna right click it again to start pairing again, just because I'm gonna go do a little bit more pairing here, but I'm gonna flip this lever to make sure that everything's working. So we got lights are flashing, gates are coming down, lights are flashing over here, bell is ringing. Very good. Looks like everything is all set here. So I'm gonna turn this off. Now, I was talking about, I'm just gonna put this lever back in here real quick. I was talking about the automation with immersive railroading, and that's where a lot of the power comes with this. So here I have a shunt here, which is the island shunt indicated by the eye, and we have to note that it is to the right of the track and facing the crossing. That's very important. You want these shunts to the right of the track and facing the crossing. And then over here I have an island shunt again next to the crossing, and on the outsides I have something called a border shunt. So here's how these work. I'm actually just going to use this hand card here. So I'm going to pair these shunts real quick. to the crossing relay box. So I have this one, and then I have two more out here, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in just a second. I'm gonna hop on this hand car here, and this is kind of where the power of the shunts come in. So you can see that the crossing is off right now, and if I back up away from it, in fact, I'm actually right on the edge of the track here, so maybe I should go forward. We can see that the crossing is not currently active. The lights are not flashing. But watch what happens as soon as I enter this border shunt area. As soon as I enter this border shunt area, the crossing gates will activate. And I'm going to stop just before the island circuit. And if we wait just a few seconds here, we should see that the crossing is actually going to do something called timing out. So you can see the crossing is timed out and the crossing is now going back up. So what happened was the area between this border shunt and this island shunt is actually kind of like your approach to the crossing. So that'll activate the crossing all the way up through that island shunt there. And if I stop before the island shunt, then the crossing will actually deactivate. And if I back up away from the crossing, so if I go the other direction here, you'll notice that the crossing will not activate because I'm not moving towards it. And then if I switch direction, start moving towards it again, the crossing will activate. So you can kind of see how this area is known as a border circuit or an approach circuit. Now, if we move into the crossing and stop in the middle between the two island shunts, this handcart is so hard to stop. We'll notice that the crossing will not time out because my handcart is located between two island shunts. And this creates something called an island circuit. And the crossing will not time out and it doesn't matter which way you move as long as something from immersive railroading is located within this island circuit, the crossing will stay activated. All right, let's proceed beyond the crossing. And as soon as we leave this island circuit and move into this other border or approach circuit, the crossing will deactivate because we're not moving towards the crossing. Okay, and the crossing is deactivating as we would expect. So not every single crossing is going to have a single track leading up to the crossing or even have just a single track crossing. Maybe you will have a 2 or 3 track crossing, all of which that you want activated through these shunts. And that's totally fine as long as you have a border shunt or an island shunt per track. So in this case, we have a double track situation here leading into a single track crossing. We can have 2 border shunts for the 2 tracks, and they will both go up to this island circuit. So you'll pretty much have these 2 border or approach circuits leading up to that. And they will function exactly the same as the other approach circuit on the other side. And likewise, if we were to have a 2-track crossing here, you'll just have 2 island circuits, an island shunt on each side per track. So yeah, so if we were to take this back just one more time for demonstration here, in fact, I'll even go to the other side, pop that down on the 2nd track, throw this switch, and start moving towards the crossing. We will notice that the crossing activates because we are within that approach circuit. And if we stop before that island circuit, not even close, we just stop right here, this crossing will time out and everything will reset back to its topmost position. Just a second here. Okay, and everything is reset. So that takes care of all of the railroad stuff that traffic control has to offer, which is pretty awesome. I don't think you really find any of this anywhere else, and if you do, please let me know. I am genuinely curious. So with that said, let's move on to the traffic lights that traffic control has built in. Okay, So as you can see, traffic control offers a wide variety of different traffic lights here. We have the traffic light frame. We have traffic light frame with 2 bulbs, traffic light frame with 1 bulb, traffic light frame with 4 bulbs, traffic light frame with 5 bulbs, traffic light frame that's in a doghouse pattern, and new to 1.0.0 is the traffic light T-frame with 4 bulbs. So there are a wide variety of different traffic light frames that you can use, and a wide variety of applications. And you'll see a couple of these in our demo outside. Also, you'll notice connecting some of these is a new pole here called a horizontal pole. And this connects to, you can connect these to, so this is just a regular pole here, like so. And if you connect these to a, oh, I can't do that because there's a sign in the way. Connect these like so, you'll see that these actually will dynamically connect to each other, like so. And they will also dynamically connect at the back, kind of looking back here, for the traffic lights as well. So you can have those horizontal things, and again, we'll see some of that in the demo as well. Just thought it would be worth noting. And over here on this side, we have a traffic light control box. So this is very similar to the crossing gate relay, where this is going to be the control box for everything for your intersection. And of course, just like with a lot of things, if we right click on this, we will get a GUI that allows us to configure certain things about what we have set up here. So one thing to notice is right here at the very top, it shows manual mode. And manual mode means that you only have traffic lights connected to this, nothing else. And that those other things we'll cover in a little bit, but this is just showing just the manual mode. And you can see that there are a bunch of different checkboxes that you can check here to configure what you want to do based on redstone input. So we'll go column by column here. So the first column is the bulb, and you can see all the different bulb types here, including some of these no right, no left turn bulbs as well. So you know, you have your red, yellow, green, red arrows, pedestrian bulbs, and your right turn arrows. The next column is should this bulb activate with redstone application. So all of these are unchecked, so that means when I turn on redstone, none of the bulbs should be activated. The next column is the letter F, which stands for flash. So if you want a certain bulb to flash when the redstone is on, you can do that. The next column is which bulbs should be activated when the control box is no longer receiving redstone. And in this case, you can see that every single bulb of every single type will activate when redstone is off. And of course, we have the F again for flash, which determines if you want the bulb to flash when the redstone is off. And also on the far left here, we have a direction. So the first one is north/south, and the second one is west/east. So if we click on the west/east, it'll show us our west-east configurations. This one happens to be the same for north-south and west-east. So since we have a bunch of green set up here, and if I look at my F3, it's showing that this is the north direction. So if I look at my north-south direction, go to my green bulbs, and I check the flash option, and I cycle this redstone again, we can see that all of the green bulbs will flash because I checked the flash checkbox. Pretty cool. So I will cycle this again. And I also have, oh, this is another instance where you can see every single bulb that is offered by traffic control with your solids, your arrows for each direction, your no left and right turns, and your pedestrian bulbs as well. And since I have it all connected to this one control box, once I apply redstone, everything turns off. And I should note, I didn't leave a chest down here so we could grab something, but let's grab, I just want to show how to do this real quick. If I grab this traffic light frame, and I'm going to grab a couple bulbs to put in there, so I'm just going to grab your standard red, yellow, and green. To actually use or put bulbs into these traffic light frames, you hold the frame in your hand, and you look at nothing, make sure you're not looking at the floor or anything. You just kind of look in the air to where no block is selected. Right click and you will get a GUI, and this will be the case with all of these different traffic light frames. Right click and you get this GUI, and you can place these bulb types in here, and you'll also get a checkbox for each one of these that determines whether or not you want to allow that bulb to flash for this specific frame. So if I don't want, and this is more important when we get to like left turn signals, which we'll show later in the demo. If you don't want a flashing left turn yellow, or if you are doing something pretty specific with OpenComputers, which again we'll get into a little bit later, you can prevent that arrow or bulb or whatever from flashing. So you can just do that by checking or unchecking that box. So we'll throw that away there. So now we're going to get into automated mode, and I will show the GUI for this once we get over to the demos themselves, but behind here I have a pig standing on some sensors that actually allow us to have these traffic lights change in an automated fashion to where we don't have to manage the redstone for it, especially because, you know, it's on and off, right? So you can't get that intermediary yellow light. That's what the automated mode is kind of here to take care of for you. So if I switch this over, we can see that we're going to go to yellow and then red, and then we'll get a green here. And this one has that green arrow, and after a period of time it'll go to yellow, and then okay, so this one is set to not flash the yellow. So if we go look here, if we pick that block and look, we can see that yellow is that flashing. The yellow is set to not allow flash. So if I check that and hope this works here, I pop that down and go like this. Now we can see that we're going to get that flashing yellow because we have a green arrow in this direction. If we flip this back up, we will see that we get the yellow and then the red, and then this one will switch to green. So it's kind of what you get with your automated thing. You don't have to do any redstone. It all comes bundled with traffic control. Now I mentioned the sensors. Those are located here. You get 3 different sensors that you can place under the roadways. So these actually don't have to be at the surface. In our demo, one of them is at the surface, but the rest of them are located underground. And this is configurable as to how far you want it to scan upwards for entities. But you do get these traffic light sensor for the left arrow, for going straight, and for going right, since we have those right turn bulbs as well. So you can place these under the roadway, and there are a specific list of entities that it'll check. So it won't trigger for any entity, only the entities that really make sense. Or you can make it for any entity except the player, and we'll get into how the player can actually interact directly with the traffic lights as well a little bit later in the demo. But in this case, I'm going to show you with this pig something called the entity class display. Now by default you can turn this on by pressing the right bracket key, but you can actually change this key to be whatever you want by going into your pause menu, options, controls, go down to the traffic control, and you can see here it's set to my right bracket. So I'm going to press that and look at the pig here, and you can see at the very top of my screen I have a bunch of text that tells me what the entity class is. So we can see it goes top down from the bottom. It's the least specific, and to the top it's the most specific. We can see at the very top line this is that net.minecraft.entity.passive.entitypig. So if we look at that entity pig, and I'm gonna switch over and look at my config file really quick. So I go into my config folder here, and I open up trafficcontrol.cfg. I can see in this sensor classes config option here that entity pig is one of my options in here. So if you have a vehicle mod that doesn't seem to be working for traffic control, but you want it to work for the traffic lights, all you have to do is press this bracket and go look at your car, and you will see at the top of the screen what the actual class inheritance is, and you can if you're unsure, always pick the top one. Otherwise, you can join our Discord server and just simply ask the question there as to which one you should choose, and then just use that line in your config file, restart the game, and your traffic lights should work for your cars after that if you're having problems. So that is how you use the entity class display and how you would go about using that. So all right, so that is all of the traffic light stuff block by block. So now let's take a look and see this stuff in action. So I have a very basic intersection set up here, and underneath each one of these I have straight arrow sensors in each direction. We can see that we are currently set to red. Now I have all of these paired to this control box here, and I'm going to show you the GUI for this since we're out here. So you see the GUI has changed quite a lot since we've paired a sensor, and it'll go to this anytime you pair a sensor or a pedestrian button, which with the pedestrian buttons we'll get there in a little bit. So you can choose all of these different timings that you want for your intersection. So this is your green minimum. What is the minimum amount of time a green signal should be displayed for any direction? The yellow time is how long a yellow signal should be displayed. And the red time is how long the red signal should be displayed in all directions. So this gives you time to where it's not going to red and then green for your cross traffic right away. It allows a little bit of that time to ensure that an accident doesn't happen and all directions are red before it goes on to the green signal. This is your left arrow and no left minimum. So this is how long that green arrow or that no left arrow should be displayed. In this case, these are all in seconds. So this is 5 seconds. The cross time is how long your pedestrian green signal should be displayed. So 5 seconds by default. How long the flashing red pedestrian bulb should display before the traffic lights would have a chance to change for cross traffic to go. So default is 7 seconds. And lastly, we have the right arrow and no right minimums. This is how long a right arrow by itself should be displayed. In this case, it is 5 seconds. So with that out of the way, let's actually give this a shot. Now, horses by default are included in the config, and since I don't have any car mods installed right now, I'm just going to use my horse. And grab my lead out. So let's roll up to this intersection here and stop at the stop line. We can see that the traffic lights are going to switch from yellow to red. 2 seconds later, we're going to get the green and move on. Now I'm going to go back over here, and again, that sensor is buried underneath the roadway here. So if I just go up to this stop line, we can see that the traffic lights are going to do their thing and give me the green signal where I can move forward. Now this is a slightly more complex intersection here where I have a left turn bay as well as a straight turn bay. So if I pull up here and want to turn left, I can wait at the stoplight or at the stop line here. And you can see that the cross traffic is switching. And now I'm going to get a green arrow because I was standing on one of these left turn sensors. I'll turn left, of course. We will see that the cross traffic now went from that green arrow to yellow. Now we're getting that flashing yellow in both directions. So I'm just going to pull up here and I'm just going to get this green light. I'm going to wait. I could turn right on red, of course. That's allowed. But I'm just going to wait for it to switch back to green before I go. And turn right here. I'm just going to do a little U-turn. And I'm actually going to go with this left turn lane bay again because I want to show you what this green arrow actually does. So if I pull up and wait, we see that we're going to get the green arrow. And while we have this green arrow for our direction, if we look at the back, our oncoming side is actually set to red because we have that green arrow. And once that green arrow expires, then the other side will go to green with that flashing yellow. And it'll always go to flashing yellow. You can't go to a red signal. It'll always go to a flashing yellow once both sides are clear to go. The only time you're going to get a red arrow is when that direction has a red. Now, if I choose here, I'm just going to set this back to green for cross traffic. And make my, I'm just gonna do a left turn here. Come down here. Now if I want to go straight through here, I have a straight sensor buried underneath. So I'll stop at the stop line here. And that'll go to red, and then this will just get that straight through as long as there's nobody standing on any left sensors. That left turn arrow will go straight to flashing yellow, and we can go. So I'm going to make my left turn here, and I'm just going to pop my horse down at this fence here. Take a drink of water too. Okay, so the one last thing I wanted to show with these traffic lights was the method in which players can interact with the traffic lights. So you can see here at each corner of this intersection, I have these things called pedestrian buttons, which say push to cross. And we can see that right now I have a red signal in all directions. This is the default. It'll always show a red pedestrian arrow unless a player wishes to cross. So we can see that, you would expect, because this is green here, that I'd be able to cross and have a green, but it's not there. So I can just simply push the button and I will get my green pedestrian for, I think it was 5 seconds or something like that, and then we'll get that flashing red for our crosswalk warning. So now if I want to cross here where it's red, I can just push that button. We can see that the traffic lights will adjust, so this will get the red here, and we'll get the green as well as the green cross. So move across, push this one again so that way we can cross. We can see that this will actually have to wait until this is expired to that red. This will go to yellow, red, and then we'll finally get our cross. And likewise, if we wait again, this will be flashing red. And then the traffic should go to yellow, to red, and then we will get our cross signal here. So this is the only method in which a player can directly influence the traffic light system. Otherwise, they'll have to be on some kind of vehicle like a pig, right? You can ride a pig with the saddle on it, with the carrot on a stick. You can ride a horse or whatever else you want to set up in the config. You just cannot force a player to be able to trigger any of these traffic light sensors. I guess there is one exception that you could count in here, and that would be with OpenComputers. If you could figure out a way to actually get the computer to trigger for a player, you can certainly do that. But this is kind of how it works with OpenComputers. So here I have a traffic light card, and there are actually 3 different tiers of traffic light cards, all corresponding to how many traffic lights that you compare to each card, with a creative tier as well that you can pair as many as you want. These amount of slots, this maximum, you can actually just configure inside your config file, but by default the tier 1 is 16, tier 2 is 144, tier 3 is 384, and of course your creative card is unlimited. I was going to make one other point with that, but I don't remember what it was. So to use these cards, you just hold it in your hand and you can right click any stoplight that you'd like, and you will see that it says that in your chat it has added this traffic light to this card, and that you have 15 out of the 16 slots remaining. So this is the only one I'm going to add right now, but you can literally make your own traffic light controllers with this with OpenComputers. So I already have this computer set up. All I have to do is just take this card and put it inside the one of these cards inside the computer and turn it on. And I'm just going to stand right here so that way we can see the traffic light working while we type in our commands here. So I'm going to go into Lua here, and I'm going to just do TL equals, and I'm going to grab the component. Actually, I'll just show you the list of components real quick. So if I do component here, all right. So if I go into the computer here and I go into Lua, I can access my traffic light card by doing, well, first we'll assign it to this variable called TL for traffic light. And it's going to be in your component, and the name of it's just going to be traffic light card. So with that, I'm going to be able to do some shortcuts here. So there are a number of functions that you can use for the traffic light cards, and you can check out the wiki. I'll have that linked in the description, but there are a number of functions that are available through this card. So one of them I know is list all, I think it's list block IDs. And you can see that this is actually this block position, but it's in the form of a long or an integer, really. So you can reference it by this, or you can do list block pos, and that'll give you a list of each block position that is tied to the traffic light card. So in this case, it's -27, 57, -1, 1354. So to actually manipulate this, what I can do is TL dot set state. Actually, I can grab what the states are. So TL dot states. Oops, TL dot states. There we go. So these are all the different states that I can access here. So we have the cross and don't cross bulbs. I have the green arrow left, green arrow right, all that, the reds. This traffic light in particular is a red, yellow, green traffic light, so I'm just going to set the green light to be on. So I'm going to do TL dot set state, and I'm going to, oh, I need to grab that block position again. So I'm going to type in the block position, -27, 57, -1354. I'm going to do the green state. Then I'm going to do two different booleans. So one is whether or not I want it to be on or off. So in this case, I'm going to do true for turning it on, and then I'm going to do false for it flashing. And hit enter here, and we can see that the traffic light is now lit green. So if I wanted to do red, we can see that it is now red. I'm just going to look up the wiki real quick. Now I have this weird goofy situation. I just want to clear everything out. So all I have to do is TL dot clear states, and then type in the block position or the block ID for this traffic light. Hit enter, and that'll clear all of the states that I had set for that traffic light. I'm going to turn the green light on again, and I'm going to show you how you can actually check the state of a specific traffic light. So if we just do TL dot get state and type in our position and close that, and then I can either do active or flash, and that'll tell me whether or not it's active. So if I do that, oops, get states, it's plural, get states. Oh, all right. So it's get states, and then you can grab the specific state you want to look at. So in this case, green. Oh, what the frick? So when you call each one of these methods, it's actually the first parameter is going to tell you whether or not that the method call was successful, and then the second one is going to be the actual result. So I'm just going to assign that result to just a variable called res, and then I'll do TL.getStates and the block position. There we go. And now if we do res, we can do whatever state you want. So in this case, green. And then I can do active or flash, and that'll tell me whether or not it's on or off. So there's our, it is active. And if I do flash, we can see that it is not flashing. Likewise with red, so we can do res red.active, and we can see that that is also false, and obviously if it's not active, it's not flashing. So that is how you would do that. And that's basically it for the OpenComputers integration. You can do all kinds of things. Like I said, you can do your own traffic light controllers. You can even repurpose these traffic lights for rail system traffic, a rail traffic system, pardon me. that you know, you can. That's what we're going to be doing in Mesa Brook anyway, is making our own CTC system with these traffic lights and OpenComputers. So yeah, that's some really, I think, revolutionary stuff. Really opens up a lot of freedom to people who want to kind of do their own thing, make these a little more complex. Last up is the aesthetic. So we'll go into the aesthetic building here, and this is where there's even more cool changes going on here, but we'll start from the beginning. We have the good old sign where everything kind of started before the traffic light, or I'm sorry, before the railroad crossings even. We had the signs and all the textures that came from Killer Mapper's Roadworks, I think is what that mod was called, because I think this was supposed to be called Roadworks Reborn, but ended up getting changed to traffic control, so pardon me. So yeah, we have the classic sign where you can browse all different kinds of signs here. You can search whatever you want. So if I want to look at signs involving curves, I can right click, type in curve in the search down here, and we will get all these signs related to curves. Some of these have some nice descriptions on them. These in particular don't. Let's see, so this one you can see has this extra tooltip and a note down here that tells you a little bit more information about you know, when to use the sign and more just information about it in general, I suppose. But the really cool thing that's new to 1.0.0 is the signs with custom text. And I know what you're thinking. We're looking at this one and we're not really seeing a whole lot of custom stuff going on here. Well, that's because I haven't edited a sign pack yet. So I'm going to close, I'm not going to close, but I'm just going to switch over to my desktop real quick. And I'm going to go into my .minecraft folder here, and you're going to see that there's this new directory called TC Signpacks. I don't have anything in it right now, but if you go onto our Discord, you'll see that there's a channel full of different sign packs that you can add, and you can actually make your own. We have a wiki page that I can also link in the description as well, that you can add any sign that you want with any texture, and you can put whatever text you want that you can customize in game. And I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So I'm going to move this custom signs into TC sign packs like so, and I'm going to do something called a hot reload, and I'm going to press and hold F3 and then that right bracket. Remember that key that we use to bring up that entity class identifier? I'm going to press that key, the F3 in that right bracket, and it's going to do something called a hot reload. And we can see that there's a chat message on the bottom left that says sign packs reloaded. So now that I added that and I go way down to the bottom, there's two new signs, this Wisconsin sign and this Texas sign. And you can see that they're completely blank. And when I click on them, I get this new button up here called the text editor. So if I click on that, because these have text set up on them, I get this giant route number. It actually goes off the screen because this text is so big. I can type in whatever I want. In this case, if I do the numbers 5 and 4, I now get Wisconsin Highway 54. Or if I want to change it to maybe 173, I get Wisconsin Route 173. Likewise, if I do my search here, or if I want to look at, because this sign pack adds its own types, I can just search by that type by doing an @ sign and then start typing in the type name, which in this case was just called custom type, but it can be anything. And I can see that it filters down just to my types here. So if I click on Texas and put in my route number, I can actually see that there's actually a second text area down here where I can type in T dot 100 fine or something silly like that, where if you steal a sign you're charged $100 or whatever. And we can see that is all put on this sign, and yeah, it's really cool stuff, and I'm really excited to see what people do with this custom text and sign and stuff. So yeah, custom sign packs. Looks like there's a little bit of something called Z fighting here, which I will definitely have fixed before the actual release goes out. But here we have these type 3 barriers where the stripes are going in one direction, the other direction here, and one where everything is all connected, and each one of these can either have a sign or not have a sign. So if you choose to have a sign, you can just check this second box here that says sign on this barrier, and just like before, you get all these different signs that you can pick, including all of the custom ones with the custom text. So if I wanted to put this sign on here, the Wisconsin sign, and I wanted to put text editor on here, I can do Wisconsin 54 again, and bam, there it is right on this sign. Likewise, you can do it with the other direction as well. And this one is actually 3 different signs, so that you can have one on the left side, nothing on the right. And then if you want a sign that actually spans, there's specific signs that can span across all of these. So if I were to take another one of these type 3 barriers and put it here, we can see that that road closed is actually going to go right into the middle of wow, that Z fighting is really annoying. Go right into the middle of what I'm looking at here. So pretty cool stuff. Up next here we have the street sign, which is pretty awesome. So if I were to right click this, I can actually add another one on top of here. I think I have to do it from the top. There we go. So if I add another one from the top, I can add another street sign. You can have 4 of these within a specific block. So I could do like Minecraft Boulevard or something like that. I have all these different colors that I can choose from. I can choose a different color at any time for any of these signs, and I can choose which direction it's facing at any time. The only thing you can't do is change the text after you've already set it. So it's kind of a one-time deal. If you mine the block, you'll get all 3 signs back. So there's no loss there, but you just have to be careful what you're typing and make sure of it when you put it in. So yeah, so we got Con Street, Coral Avenue, and Minecraft Boulevard, and we can have the the fancy yellow background with the black text. Pretty cool. And of course, you can't have traffic control without the ability to control traffic. So we have your cone, your channelizer, and your drum, and you can even put these on your head and wear it as a hat. Pretty neat. All right, over here we have concrete barriers that are available in all 16 colors that Minecraft offers. So you can have your white barrier and orange. You can even have a pink barrier if you want. Whatever you want to do, it's available for you to use. And last but not least, we have the street lights and the guardrails. So here we have the just a single-headed street light, puts out a ton of light, as well as the street light double head here. And you can see that I don't have any lighting going on the ceiling or on the walls. All this area is lit up just from these 2 street lights here. And lastly, we have the guardrail, which is just exactly as you would expect. It's a guardrail. And after that, it's the beyond. It's whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do with traffic control, I am super happy to see it. I love seeing people use traffic control on YouTube, in different screenshots, all kinds of things. It is so much fun to see traffic control out there in the beyond. So that is all I have for the traffic control 1.0.0 showcase. That's every single block in the game, every single feature that I could think of. So if you like what you see here, make sure that you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe for a lot more Minecraft content. I'm having some other fun non-Minecraft videos planned. I'm trying to think of more things to do, so if you got other non-Minecraft things that you want to see me try out, make sure you leave that in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite feature is in traffic control in the comments as well. I'd be super curious to see it. Make sure you join our Discord server for any support or whatever you want to do in the Discord server is totally fine. Make sure you stay tuned for the upcoming Minecraft server that I am putting together with a great group of people. We leave lots of information in that Discord there as well. It's actually what traffic control was built for, was for this upcoming Minecraft server, and hopefully if you're seeing this a few years in the future, that server is already out and doing very well. So make sure you check that out. I'll also leave that link in the description as well. Outside of that, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.